please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Locked on and he scored! And we're live.
Hey everybody, so we are back again for another series preview, and today we're going to be talking about the 7 versus 10 matchup in the Eastern Conference, the 7 seed New York Islanders and the 10 seed Florida Panthers. Before we begin, I just ask that you please hit that subscribe button if you're new, and give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already, as those likes really go a long way in helping the channel and are very much appreciated. But let's get into it here, starting with the New York Islanders, who finished this year with a 35, 23, and 10 record, good enough for 80 points in the Eastern Conference. And against the Florida Panthers in the season series, they went 3-0-0 in their 3 games this year, beating Florida every time. For the Islanders, their offense struggled this season. They've been a defense-first team the last few years, at least the last couple under Barry Trotz. But their offense really struggled this year at scoring just 2.78 goals for per game, which was only 22nd in the NHL. So that's definitely an area of concern heading into these playoffs is, can the Islanders score enough? The good news, however, is their defense is very good. Top 10 in the league again this year, giving up just 2.79 goals against per game, which was 9th best in the NHL. So typical Barry Trotz team, they are very good defensively, very structured, and keep the puck out of their own net for the most part. The problem for them is getting the puck into the opponent's net. Their power play this year, much like their offense, left quite a bit to be desired. They only operated at a 17.3% clip on the man advantage, which was only 24th in the NHL. So obviously they struggled a little bit on the power play there, but that goes along with just their struggles to score in general. And the penalty kill, maybe not as good as you would expect for such a defensively structured team. Only 80.7% on the penalty kill, which was 15th in the league. So right around mid-pack in the NHL for the PK. Again, not bad, certainly not bad, but nothing spectacular either. Their leading goal scorer was Brock Nelson this year with 26 goals. Nelson has produced really well over the past couple seasons and had another very good year this year. Probably would have hit 30 goals if the season had gone full all the way through. Certainly would have been very, very close. So good year for Nelson without a doubt. Their leading point scorer was Matt Barzal, obviously as he should be, as their best offensive player. 60 points this year for Barzal. Again, I feel like he could maybe produce some more. 60 points is not a bad season by any stretch. But I feel like Barzal could be a point-per-game player if he really put it all together. And obviously, he's still very young and still developing. So I think in the future, he's certainly going to have point-per-game seasons without a doubt. But this year wasn't one of them. But I really think that Barzal is their best player and someone with a ton of offensive upside potential. And I would really like to see him get to be a regular point-per-game kind of guy, because I really think he has the ability and the talent to do it. And their leading penalty minute getter was Ross Johnston this year. He only played, I think it was 32 games, but he had 78 penalty minutes on the season in those 30-something games that he played, and led the team in penalty minutes. Now, I really don't think we're likely to see Johnston in the lineup in the playoffs, unless obviously injuries start to pile up, or if this particular series or a particular series in the postseason takes a very physical turn and things start to really get nasty. Then maybe we could see Ross Johnston brought in, but I don't think we're going to see Johnston in the starting lineup to start. I think he had 4 points on the season in those 30-something games. He's a fourth liner. He's a fighter. That's what Ross Johnston is. And, obviously 78 penalty minutes on the year and only about less than half or about half the season played shows you that he's that kind of guy. But their fourth line, when they're healthy with the Islanders, is going to be Matt Martin, Casey Cizikas, and Cal Clutterbuck. And That's going to be their fourth line. And unless someone gets hurt, or unless, things are going to get real nasty between the Islanders and a certain team, I don't think we'll see Johnston. Moving on to Florida now. Florida finished the season with a 35-26-8 record. Good enough for 78 points on the year, and did not win a game against the Islanders in the regular season this year. Not that that necessarily means a whole lot, but they went 0-2-1 in the season series versus New York. And this is one of those matchups where it just seems like the Islanders have the Panthers number. And there's a few of those throughout the league where when two teams match up, it just always seems like one of them wins and the other one loses. And I would say for Florida, the Islanders are a team that they struggle against usually on a regular basis. The Panthers this season were one of the best offensive teams in the NHL. They lit up the scoreboard, scoring 3.30 goals for per game, which was sixth best in the NHL. So obviously very, very good offense this year. However, on the other end of the spectrum, their defense was atrocious. They gave up 3.25 goals against per game, 28th in the NHL, so near the bottom of the league in goals against per game. They really, really struggled defensively, and they did not get good goaltending from Sergei Bobrovsky. And that obviously was a huge problem all year long. Bobrovsky had a terrible season, as bad as I've ever seen Sergei Bobrovsky look this year, and his numbers were atrocious. So big problem for the Panthers is keeping the puck out of their own net. I mean, they obviously can score, they can rack up goals, they can produce a lot of offense, but they cannot keep the puck out of their own net, and that's a big time problem. And we'll see, if they can be better defensively, or at least have Bobrovsky playing better when the season does start up again and they're playing the Islanders. They had the 10th best power play in the NHL at 21.3% on the man advantage. So obviously pretty darn good there, top 10 power play. However, their penalty kill, not so good, down at 20th in the league, 78.5% on the PK. So obviously that could be a little bit better. Their leading goal scorer this year was Mike Hoffman with 29 goals on the season. Hoffman had a fantastic year. Again, he is a legitimate scorer in the NHL and somebody who can consistently give you 30-plus goals. Certainly would have had 30-plus had the season continued normally, and he had a very good year. Their leading point scorer was Jonathan Huberdeau with 78 points, who once again had a great season, much like he did in 2018-19 as well. Huberdeau is really showing that he is a high-end offensive player and really a star in this league. And I think Huberdeau is one of the more underrated stars in this league, but it's been back-to-back seasons now for him where he's produced at a very high level. So 78 points, led the team, and a very, very good season once again for Jonathan Huberdeau. And Florida's leading penalty minute getter was defenseman Josh Brown with 39 penalty minutes on the season. So interesting, Florida, nobody on Florida even got to 40 penalty minutes this year. Their penalties are very spread out. Their fights are very spread out amongst different guys on the team. They don't have that one guy that racks up a lot of penalty minutes. They do have some, fairly physical, tough players on the team, but it's very by committee and it's very spread out amongst different players, and there's no one guy that really goes out and fights a lot or is racking up penalty minutes. So that's why you see Josh Brown leading the way with just 39. And for predictions, I'm going with the Islanders in this one, sticking with my original one, obviously. I'm going to say Islanders in 5. I think Florida can score enough to push this series to 5, and they'll just flat out outscore the Islanders at points in this series. But I think at the end of the day, Florida's defense has been so bad this year, and their goaltending has been so bad this year that's just going to end up screwing them. And the Islanders are going to find a way to just score enough goals to win this series, and we'll see the Islanders move on and the Panthers go home. But this certainly doesn't mean that the Panthers can't win. Again, if Bobrovsky comes back and plays like Sergei Bobrovsky is supposed to, then all of a sudden this whole series shifts. And I think Florida becomes the team to beat if Bobrovsky is being Sergei Bobrovsky, because Florida's offense is astronomically better than the New York Islanders' offense. The problem is the Islanders' defense is good. The Florida defense is not at all. So if they can fix the defense, then I think they can tip the series in their favor. But with the way that, from what I saw this year, I can't see them being that significantly much better, and then that's going to give the Islanders the advantage, in my opinion. So I'm going to stick with the Islanders in 5 on that one. So overall, this is going to be a fun series, guys. It's definitely an interesting one. Similar dynamic to the Toronto and Columbus series, where it's high-flying offensive team in the Florida Panthers versus a very strong defensive team in the New York Islanders. So it's the same, where you have, in the Toronto-Columbus series, you've got the Leafs high-flying offense and you've got Toronto's defense, or the Leafs high-flying offense, and Columbus's defense. And then in this series, you've got the Panthers high-flying offense and the Islanders, good shutdown defense. So that's really the dynamic of it, and I think it's going to be an interesting series, and it's going to be really fun to see which style of play once again comes out on top, and which team's able to move on and which one ends up going home. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.